Ladies and gentlemen, this is David Mirikitani with another episode of Mat Chat, brought to you by USA Wrestling, the national governing body for wrestling in the United States, and by Nike Wrestling. Go to athleteps.com for all of your Nike and USA Wrestling branded gear. Joined today, set off air, by two homies, two good friends of mine, the head coaches of the Michigan girls wrestling team and the Missouri wrestling team, girls wrestling team, Mario Flores and Amond Prater. This was also the national duels finals matchup last year. So welcome to the show, boys.
Morning. Thanks.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
So, all right, Prater, let's start. Let's give a shout out. Where are you calling from, and whose domicile are we calling from?
Yeah, so broadcasting live from my parents' house, Aaron and Yvonne Prater, the great state of Georgia, Marietta, Georgia.
And Amon, should we talk about the fact that Flores has got a freaking Yeti mic and he's already coming for my gig? Like, I finally got one thing of my own and he's already stepped it up a level. What are you doing over there, Mario? You got a whole little studio set up?
I have an awesome wife. I tell her, I'm like, hey, I'm going to do a podcast. So that I think she just likes Amazon. So I was like, I'm going to get an Amazon. And then all of a sudden, like 2 days later, I have a mic and a thing. And she was like, I heard they said on the internet that this was the best setup. And I was like, I guess it is.
All right. Give your wife a shout out. What is her name?
Lori Raleigh. She retired yesterday. Last day, public education, 30 years.
Wow.
I know. We're done. We're off to new adventures.
Shout out to teachers. Okay.
There you go. Oh my God. How did you guys get to the finish line? I feel like this was a long year, even with our club kids, like just trying to get through school.
For sure. And I will see you guys next week in person and we'll talk about it. But happy early Father's Day to both you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
So, all right. So let's get into it. Junior duels, one of my favorite weeks of the year. Selfishly for me, I get to call three of the finals, get to work with three awesome color play-by-play guys. Last year for the girls finals was juniors was especially meaningful for me watching. Mario, for people that don't know, was super instrumental in the Michigan border brawl that happened in 2022. Amon, I don't know if Mario is still friends with Terry Pack or no longer friends with Terry Pack, with how much of a burden I put on Mario in 22. Although we did have wings together in Fargo, so I think we're okay.
Yeah.
And then, but again, this was the final last year, and I think everybody knows I'm a Missouri guy. Scott Cuthbert and I are good friends. Amon and I are good friends. And Cuthbert was literally texting me while I was on the mic, an unbelievable finals, couple swing matches that went Missouri's way, and they were able to get the victory. Michigan's always up in the hunt. So let's first just start with this, and I guess, Amon, you can go first. Why should people who haven't watched junior duels watch it?
Well, number one, it's an Olympic year. So I think that we are showcasing our youthfulness and the amount of talent that we have coming up, even through our middle school and high school ranks. And it's a direct mirror of our girls who are competing on the world stage. The same techniques, the same grit, the same toughness that we see on the world stage is right here in our backyard. So we enjoy kind of that perspective. And, we have so many girls that have set themselves as stars in our sport already. And we are bringing them together, in Oklahoma and letting those fireworks kind of fly.
And we'll get into individuals on both teams. So, Mario, you were kind of talking off air about your list of hammers, and we're going to get to all of them on both sides. But I think you and I have talked privately about the camaraderie of, the center stage mat and, the people pounding it. So, and you and Ben and the rest of your crew do a great job of rallying those kids together. What makes this weekend as enjoyable as it is for you coming up?
I think, again, it's the team atmosphere. And I think so many, we're just like an emerging sport, right? I know that we're well beyond grassroots, but we are emerging. And so when you're doing that, you have to give people to get to have something to be excited about. And when you're in the heat of that duel and it's back and it's forth and what you have coming up the pipe down in your lineups and what, the potential matchup and the implication. And you're like, let's go. And the girls feel the energy and the parents feel the energy and it's just electric. So giving people a positive experience. I mean, you're taking a ton of kids down there. And I think that type of experience fuels their passion and validates what everybody across the country is doing. So for us, it's like, yes, you want to be a part of that. And I feel like on the girl side, there's just the way that they develop team is through fun and through and just being silly. And then when it's time to dial in, they have that extra gear of sass that drops in, and then they're ready to fight. So we fuel on that.
Yeah, just that alone, Mario, what you said, and having to coach against that is even more, just a different animal, because when we're there, and like I said, the fact that we had a chance to compete and we have to see that, I was like, oh, I got to be on my game too, because now you guys are bringing that energy. I was like, holy crap, even if we weren't expected to win, that you feel that energy and everybody kind of feeds off of it. So that is one thing that Michigan does well. And I'm stealing pages, out of your book, all the time. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I think most of us watch men's college duels and, so you can see momentum, but so many of the big duels, all the duels are only 10 matches. A lot of times there's an intermission at 5, so it's hard to get a lot of momentum. At junior duels, there's a couple of things that are different. First of all, it's 15 individual matches in a duel. Second of all, the criteria is really simple. Whoever won 8 matches wins the duel. And then the third thing is, and this is a little nerdy, but the points are scored. Like a decision is 3-0 if it's a shutout, 3-1 if the other person scores. Tech fall is 4-0 or 4-1, and a pin's 5-0. So if Amond's beating me 9-1 and I get him to step out, and Mario's coaching me, the whole Michigan side is banging the stage because I got a point. Like I literally got a team point. And it's crazy as you might go beat me 11-1 and you're almost deflated walking off the mat, because you had that 4-0 or, let's say you had me almost pinned and I can bridge out. And even if it's a caution and back down and then I score a point, the momentum swings along with what you guys said about kind of knowing who you got coming up, like, hey, this Flores Prater match is going to be gigantic. It's interesting. And you guys obviously know the upcoming matchups better than we do on the mic. Probably the smartest I could have been was your 2 teams wrestling last year, because that's where I knew the most. Who do we have in the background here?
Hold on. Give me a second. Hold on. 2 seconds, guys.
Yep.
God dang, Mario.
Yeah, we're getting ready to start practice. Everybody's
all right.
in.
I mean,
we have an 11 o'clock practice, so we're trying to we're rolling in. Hey, it's time, right? Before kids show up, right, 11:05 for 11 o'clock practice. Now it's game. We're getting close. They're 30, 40 minutes early to get their extra work in, and you're like, who's turning on the sauna? Who's doing this? So I got to stretch out my hip. I'm like, it really is. It's a time and for at least us, and I'm sure everybody else that are ready to get after it.
I'll ask you this question first, Mario, and shout out to John Kozak and the rest of the guys at Flow. They really help us for the finals, kind of give us the rankings so we can talk about the potential matchups. Mm-hmm. How much do you juggle lineups at a place like this to try to get the most favorable matchups versus just wrestling your straight 15?
For me, it's very strategic. I'm fortunate enough to have a little bit of depth and quality relief. So depending on where my athlete goes, if they need a tune-up match, then I'll maybe sit them 2 duels away, and then I'll wrestle them, and then I'll be able to get that, the matchup that we're really going towards. Or I could go the other way, wrestle them, sit them, let them go. So for us, it's all about, making sure every one of our kids is ready to wrestle that, that real, important match. We know that something's coming down the pipe. I'm like, hey, I'm going to sit you 2. you tweaked your shoulder a little bit. I'm going to sit you 2 matches, and then you got to be ready to go. But I need everything you got. Not everybody's goes into these tournaments feeling 100%. So having the ability to go into the pool and bring somebody up who's going to be equally as competitive is a bonus when you're trying to navigate a tournament with potentially with the over the 4 days or whatever for 15, 16 matches. So,
and Amond, I'll ask you the same question, but with sort of a precursor for some people. Like one of the years of junior duels on the boys' side, one team ran out to such a big lead, like they could literally give up the last 4 matches by pin and still win. And they sat those kids, and there were some matchups that people really wanted to see. And, some people were over there kind of complaining, and I get it. As fans, you want to see the matchups, but, like they asked me about it, like somehow, and I was like, well, look, these dudes are wrestling 16 matches in a weekend if they went both styles. Yeah. So, if you're the coach, part of your job is to preserve them. And obviously, girls are wrestling Greco now as well. So is your approach the same? Do you maybe have a little more or less flexibility based on the depth?
Well, again, let's just start with, Dave, you know a lot of the girls, from your various events and tournaments that you've had. So a lot of our Missouri girls, are our staples and stars, on our team. So, we try to make sure the matchups make sense for us, that we know where our weak areas are. So yeah, we know we need our points early, or we know that we're going to get our points late. Last year for us, our big girls kind of brought the show home. This year we're going to have to do a little bit more finagling, with our middle and lightweights to make it work. But again, it's looking at momentum in the other teams. And that's the beauty of junior duels, that you don't see the emerging talent until you're actually there. And then you're like, holy moly, I had no idea that you guys were grinding just as hard this year, and bringing, this talent along so quickly. And that's the animal of our girls sports in wrestling. So
I like to tell people this is it feels to me like, and you guys are there, but like as somebody who kind of looks at a lot of these things from 50,000 feet, like you guys are way more immersed in girls' high school and college wrestling than I am, for sure. You're the experts comparison to me. I'm lucky enough to talk to you, pluck the good ones out and put them in my events and stuff like that. But it feels like it's a coming out party every year for a couple kids. Like there's just kids that nobody knows about. Like we saw this at Hall of Fame duels, like Joey Toscano pops up out of sort of nowhere. He's on a team like Buchanan where you could be the 7th best guy and be awesome. And then like right off the jump beats 2 top 15 kids just in the pool play, like in Army, like before they even get to the brackets. The other thing that I tell people is you guys, the coaches coaching, not the recruiting guys, the coaches coaching. It's probably the most relaxed you guys ever are at a big event. It's not Fargo where you're herding cattle and like, okay, hey, Mario, you go back to the dorms or hotel and recover. Hey, Prater, we got to go run around the dome and get 4 pounds off. Like it's way easier for you guys to sort of have less stress. You're not running from mat to mat. You're not on some group chat like somebody's on mat 27 while somebody else is on mat 2. So, Amond, I'll ask you this first: is the stress level? I know it's never 0, but is it less here versus a Fargo? And do you see it the same way? Like I think you sort of do, like where people just popping up that even on your own team. Like I Jewett popped up kind of this year. Like, Greg was talking to me about putting her in border brawl, and then she goes down and wins the girls showcase. Right. She wrestles, I think, Irma at my event, who's a hammer, had just won a tournament the weekend before. I think won a national tournament in Iowa. Right. Like, is that it? I'll be quiet. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, again, that's kind of the setup that happens with the conversations before the duel even start. I think that, with our practices, we already kind of know what we're looking for. And so we can be relaxed. And when we get there, we know the strategy is, hey, let's talk about what we want to do here in this situation. So it kind of involves, like I said, what Michigan does well, kind of surround themselves with good, thought processes and coaches, it's just as important as them to be involved in those matches so that they can kind of keep me calm and reassured. So when I'm sending them out to do things, even around the tournament, like you said, Dave, it's not as strenuous, but it is still necessary. It is still necessary to go get some intel, gather some intel so that it kind of matches what our strategy should be. So I would never say like, I'm one who's going to be screaming and yelling, out of a, a place that's like, uncomfortable, because like you said, the preparation that we've done, this is over a course of an entire season where we kind of know what to expect. And that's what our practice is kind of model. So we're fortunate that, we got some support cast that help out as well.
So both you guys have a ton of hammers, but Mario, I'll ask you this. When you have as many studs as you do on that team, you're going to have a kid or two that most years might not be good enough to make the team, right? But she's on that team because there's maybe that weight's not particularly deep. Maybe the best kid's hurt. They're doing something else. They might have made a world team. Like I know Joey Jeter's not going to wrestle on Junior Duels team because he's on the Pan Am team. So, how important is it for those less accomplished? I want to say the most positive way possible. The less accomplished ladies and guys, but less accomplished girls getting around these accomplished girls and slowly feeling like they can belong on that level, and this kind of meet escalating their confidence and eventually their performance. Mario, we got to get your background noise fixed. That you got to get those people out of there.
Hey guys,
like we're trying to do a podcast.
They have to move. No, I'm sorry. We're in the middle of this. Sorry. I apologize. So when we're talking about
I'll ask the question again.
Yeah.
With the maybe your B plus people, we'll say it that way. If they're how valuable is it for them to get around these A plus kids in terms of escalating their level of expectation for themselves, to be a part of the team, and to eventually achieve excellence maybe a little bit faster?
No back seats. We don't take back seats to anybody. We lace up. We're ready to go. We know where you train. We know how what your strategies are, and we know what's happening in best practice at the world level, at the national level. Same thing. It's a year of homework and assessment and scheduling. So we train on like the national training cycle. So we have 5 different target training zones, and so for us, you're supposed to hit X during this time frame, and then and each one of those is so to progressively get better in certain situations, right? So even if we haven't seen some of these kids, or we weren't at Super 32s, or we were some like things like that, like we're still working. And I think that goes back to what Amond's talking about, is we're still working, whether we've been at those tournaments and had the opportunity to do that, and it's all based on those kids' training schedule. So for us, it really is no backseats. We're there to wrestle. We're there to do our job. And if we're competing against somebody, our job is to frustrate them, score 1 point, stay off your back, and just play your role, right? If you got to fight like hell and piss somebody off and maybe get a penalty point, I'm okay with that. If I shove you off the mat, but you still beat me, and all of a sudden the other girl gets frustrated, how does that carry over emotionally? So the strategy there is, I'm like, listen, go in there, punch her in the face, get her frustrated, and then let's see if she can't make a mistake. So, weather the storm. Some of the time is like, hey, if she doesn't, some of these girls are really, really competitive, and they're good at wrestling, but their minds still aren't developed competitively yet. So they're maybe used to dominating matches. And then what happens when somebody frustrates them or flusters them? How much can we take that girl out of her game? And for us, already watching every single kid across the board, we have 10 coaches watching matches right now, and they're like, hey, go tell me about her. Hey, let's do this. What's our game plan? And then we're just trusting our coaches to be, All right, hey, what's our game plan? Good, you're with her. You know, you guys break away during the breakout session at camp, and your job is to be like, hey, we potentially will have this matchup, or it doesn't even matter. We're not really wrestling a girl specifically. We're wrestling a position or a strategy, right? Or a different mindset. So I'm like, if you have an opponent that's, X, this is our response. So, I mean, that's a little wordy, but I'm not really thinking about that too much.
Nobody ever said you and I weren't wordy, Mario, so you're good. If I start calling you worry, the kettle and the pot are both mine. So I guess either one of you guys want to go with this question. I talk to Cornell Robinson pretty regularly, and I think you guys both know who he is. And he actually wrestled for my dad and I at Merrimack. He used to coach Wyoming Seminary coaches, boys and girls. And we talk so much about these fundamental freestyle positions that are not fundamental folk style positions, like being grounded and staying grounded as you go off. If you shoot, like if I shoot on Amond and somehow getting big and getting him to a foot, so I get that point, leg lace, offense, defense, these kind of things, like whizzer kick. Whizzer kick's one that almost never gets practiced in folk style. That side-by-side position for people that don't know what we're talking about. How much are you guys, whoever wants to go first, it doesn't matter, but I want to ask you both, like, how much are you guys implementing these specific scenarios into training? And is it like 15-second goes? Are you play wrestling in there? How are you guys? I'm assuming you guys are doing this because you have to be good in these positions. So these are core positions in matches, just like front headlock, right? Like we're each going to have front headlock 2 times. We're just going to get caught in a short shot 2 times. Like those 4 positions probably dictate the match. Somebody go.
Yeah. So it kind of goes along with, how are we winning the zone? So everything that you mentioned is kind of, hey, let's get to the zone. Let's figure out, how to win the zone. That's kind of the verbiage we use during our training. And the scenarios of, like you said, with being grounded and being able to drive up, it does still take a special, I guess I don't want to say talent, but it does take an advanced level of wrestler to kind of understand where your head should be, the position. So even like we see it on the world level, we still have some girls who aren't, just that great at like being able to find their head position in the center to be able to drive up to the leg. And so now we're like, hey, in the zone, make sure you drop down. Make sure that if somebody's attacking, that you're getting your knees, down to the mat. That's a simple, practice plan. But again, just being able to navigate that takes years of, figuring out how to manipulate somebody else's body. And, girls naturally don't have that strength that they need. So again, it is being savvy of, using our whizzer kicks and, getting your big throws and again, just being tough in the zone,
Mario, do you guys do specific play wrestling drills there or situational goes, or how do you guys handle that? Yeah, we drill. So like we work on a progression system, but every progression has 8, kind of however many, just in different positions, right? If it's, seatbelt overhook, if it's, seatbelt overhook foot behind, seatbelt overhook inside step, body lock there. So we've been working on these things for a really long time, because I think that we always try to prep early on, and then that just kind of gives your toolbox. So like for this tournament nationally, it would be like, okay, what is happening at the national level that's kind of universally progressive, right? Are girls across the board getting really good at leg laces, or girls across the board getting really good at, kind of underhook series? So what are the trends looking like? And then we look at that, and then they understand our baseline. If everybody is in the country is kind of doing X, this is just a built-in every single day, right? And so maybe your progression warm-up adds an extra, 3 or 4 minutes. And then if it's something where collectively the group is not getting, or that we're losing position, or we're the position is being stalemated because we don't know how to navigate it, we're doing a lot of start-stop. Get to X, stop. Tell me about, where you think your body could go or what positions you have. Let's talk about it. Let's go try it. So we kind of implement that that start stop a little bit so that our kids can play or at least think about where I could go and then try it. And then when you unravel the position, do you put yourself in a bad position or a point scoring position? Okay, well then come back and try this one. So a lot of it is just kind of problem solving positionally for us right now. It's really just working on the I don't want to overstep, right? So like if I'm not going to step over that overhook, certain things like that where little things are like, okay, if you step over it, I mean she pops her hips up, you're falling under. So just really little things that we're kind of touching up on this last few days before we take off.
Yeah, if you step over, you better go full cartwheel, right? Like we got to get all the way over that spot, right? What's interesting is I did a clinic yesterday for a school, and we were talking about the difference between old school and new school coaching. And old school was like, and these are broad stereotypes, but like it's like, hey, the coach teaches you a position, and you just drill it, and it's the same whether you're tall, short, long, fast, slow, and listen, like I don't think that was bad. I think that was what they knew at the time. Right. Like, I mean, it's not as good as now, but everything gets better. Right. And now, like I told these kids, I go, your job is not to know the answer, but your job is to know the question. Your job is to know where you stink. Your job is to know where you're losing matches. Your job, I said, and like your conditioning and your toughness are the two of the things you can control, and your weight. Those things you can control all the time. Like your coach should not have to make you tougher, get you down to weight, or get you in shape. They should be working with you on skill, tactics, strategy, and it doesn't mean you have to be mentally tough perfectly every day. People have bad days. We all do. But just in general, like your weight should always be good and you should always be in shape. And the start, stop, the play wrestling, like I work with some guys in jiu-jitsu and they're older and like they got like doctorates. So like in every measurable category, they're smarter than me, but which is not that hard, but if you let them go through the position and you don't tell them what to do and they figure it out on their own, there's all these studies that show that people retain it stronger, more coherently. And so it seems like both you guys are people that are just watching or listening and not watching. We're all nodding. Like this is a real thing. So if you can teach people how to sort of teach themselves, like sort of lead them up to it and then let them cross the finish line on their own, it sounds like you guys agree this is a more effective way to coach. Amon, you're nodding pretty vigorously on that.
Yeah, because like you said, we get to practice it, with our athletes, and so we understand the flow and giving them scenarios. Right? We say, hey, here's a scenario, make it fit your style, because at the end of the day, I may not be able to be in your corner, and we know that. And so you have to be able to replicate this process based on what is, take what's given, take what's given. Let me give you enough tools so that you know exactly what fits your style. So that way it's never a question of confidence, so.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback that where it's like, historically we have been like that. You've heard that everybody in their wrestling room at some point has heard that doesn't work. Don't do that. That doesn't work. Well, if it's bad technique, probably it doesn't work. But if it is, doesn't work for you is the thing that it may not work for you, but it may work for me. And so a lot of the things that we do is we give permission for kids to explore and enjoy and create. And I think, and you go back to the problem solving piece, the kids that struggle more have more success. That's just, we took that play out of the Japanese general education, right? They give those kids in Japan, just at regular elementary school, problems that they can't solve, but they give them the ability and the time and the permission to explore. And if you can do that, then you're seeing the end result is, kids who are confident in taking risks. And when you can do that, you're giving kids the ability to grow quickly. And I feel like for a lot of us are seeing the kids grow quickly as a direct result of these coaching strategies.
Well, Mario and Amon, I've told both you guys for years, you should listen to your Japanese friend more often, that there's a lot of wisdom from those people. You set me up, Mario. It was too easy. So, but the point you were saying earlier about how things work for, they might not work for him, but they work for her or vice versa. Literally, that was an example yesterday. We're working on some more advanced hamstring chase things and like walking through scenarios. And this girl raised her hand and she's like, "Can I cradle from here?" I'm like, "You can, I can't." Like, your arms are down to here and, I got T-Rex arms, but you should absolutely try to cradle here, especially if you can sort of bait them into turning their head into you. You see Keegan and some of these other athletes do this a lot of the time. So absolutely. And then they feel good. Like, that girl had a smile on her face because she asked a question that the answer was positive. And even if it wasn't, it's like, hey, you can't cradle from here, but that's a great question. I could see why you would think of it that way. It's a pretty low reward, high risk. But, if you're losing by 8 points, and you think you're going to get tech, maybe try it, that kind of situation. I think I told you guys I'm going to ask you maybe a question or two that may not be fully prepared for, but who are some of the other teams that you guys have on your radar that you would expect to make the gold silver pool? What are some other states that you guys think should be good? Mario, you're nodding. So, I'm guessing California's in there.
Yeah, I'm a Linda Ripley and company over there in California. Been talking track since the World Team Trials. Since the Olympic trials, we were in that coaches cohort together, that group, and she just talked trash to me the whole time. She was sending me text messages of her winning Greco last year, and I was like, "Didn't you?" Anyway, I think we beat them in the semis, and so now we have stuff to talk about. And she just sent me a message 2 days ago with Robbie Smith. They got him the Brick King T-shirt that he will be rocking.
Time out real quick. So Robbie Smith, California was in the finals of the Greco last year, okay, of the boys Greco. And I kidnap's a strong word, but strong-armed Ike Anderson into doing the finals with me. And Ike's awesome. If you guys know him, he's awesome. He's so entertaining and so smart. And, I just bump and set and let him spike. And Robbie throws a brick and Ike's on the air. And he's like, "That's a terrible brick." And so I go, wait. And Robbie walks over. I go, "What'd you say again, Ike?" And he goes, "That's a terrible brick." And Robbie walks over. And people have to understand, like, we are standing eye level at the mat. They don't really have us on chairs. Okay. So, and Robbie's bigger than Ike and I already. And I was like, wow, this could get really bad fast. If those guys weren't friends, it was hilarious. All right. So go ahead, Brick King. Go ahead. I apologize.
No, well, I love it. I digress. Here we go. I obviously there's a handful of teams that that should be in the gold pool, and they're going to bring good lineups. I'll be curious to look at. I think your Pennsylvania has a great shot. I think California. I think ourselves we're in the mix, and Missouri, right? Obviously Texas is strong. Washington. I think Utah is an emerging state that has a lot of stuff going on. We've been watching a lot of film on them. Arizona, if they had the ability to bring everybody, I think they're a dark horse to really disrupt the pools. Colorado is always good. They have, I don't know if they have the top to bottom, but I know they have some girls that are right there. So in my mind, that like right around, that's, there's some there. Amon, help me if I'm missing anyone, but
No, you basically covered everybody that I was again looking at.
Illinois, what's up, Illinois? Shout out to you guys. You guys are always freaking tough as nails.
Yeah.
Illinois on the boys' side's the gold standard, right? Like even when they don't win, it's a surprise they don't win everything. So yeah, Amon, anybody else you would add to that list of people that or teams that people should be keeping an eye out for?
Like I said, I think that Mario hit everybody. Did we say Oklahoma? Yeah, in terms
Oklahoma's got a couple pound for pounders in I know Bella. I don't know if Bella's going to be at Pan Am's, but it's funny. Like, it's funny how many of these kids selfishly have been in border brawl. Like, we had Bella when she was a freshman. She wrestled Vargas. We had that Noss Isaac match that you put together, Mario. I told Prater this. So for people that don't know, Mario put together Noss against Isaac, and then later that summer, they both double stop signed him on. I was like, this is the difference between boys and girls wrestling. If we had put together a match of two boys that then went and won cadets and juniors in Fargo, we would be the greatest matchmakers of all time. And because it was girls wrestling, people just, it almost went by unnoticed, you know, but I mean, talk about down the line, we'll be able to brag about what those young ladies are going to do. So, I mean, that was a great event. You know, Eliana was in that. She went on and won a beach world championship. Cece was the first girl to win a match at Midlands, right?
Yep. Cece Williams.
In her green singlet. Let's go.
Yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. So, okay. So this is going to hurt, Mario. We're going to start with the champs. Amon, who are some of the hammers you got coming back this year that people can expect to see?
Angelina Vargas. We have we have a conundrum, which is good with two ranked girls at our lightweights and Jaden Keller and Aroma Rufo, trying to navigate that lineup. Kaylee Benson, she's emerging star at our lightweights. In terms of, like I said, our middleweights, Louis Dewitt, she's emerging as a finally figuring out how to use her double leg, and we'll see if people can stop it. If not, then she's going to get through with her toughness. And then, like I said, with our heavyweights, kind of navigating some newcomers. So again, we definitely are happy about the emergence of our high school coaching, to be able to kind of lend itself to having some depth, that we were able to kind of replace some girls and kind of make it work. I think, or also I forgot about, we just added Brynja Cray into the mix too. So we'll get her in the lineup too. So
I feel pretty good, Mario. 4 out of the 5 have been in border brawl, and we'll get Kaylee because she's a St. Charles girl. So we'll get her in the one in September for sure. That's pretty good though, right, Amon? We got almost all the hammers in there.
Yeah, for sure.
I gotta say this, like Amon was at the one in Kansas City and just walks up to me, like you said, he goes, "Well done, man. Well done." That's all he said.
Nice.
Like you got that like Papa Ron compliment now, like just low key. So
yeah, he's like, good job.
Good job, buddy. Good job. So
yeah.
All right, Mario, who are we looking for out of Michigan that people should definitely be keeping an eye on?
I don't know if I want to tell you guys my lineup. I think I'm holding it over.
Why don't you make it like a UFC card scheduled to appear? It'd be like Conor McGregor. Maybe he'll show up, maybe he won't.
We're tough, man. We have a nationally ranked girl, our Fargo All-American, at just about every single weight. We got everything from Sabrina Noss will make a national record, potentially her 5th Fargo stop sign. We got world team members in the manual girls. We have, folks down national champs. We have top 5 girls. We got Super 32 girls. We got Gigi Bragg, Michaela Dawson. We got, who's number 1, Maddie Newenhouse. We got the Burmas. We got double Fargo All-American and Bella CPAC. I mean, we've got backups and, top 5 girls at Fargo last year, sharing spots. So we're competitive. I'm really excited about that. We got Alexis Lazar, who's, been roaring, young and talented, and she's roaring on the scene. So we're super excited. For us, we feel like we have a lineup that's going to push the country, and if somebody beats us, they're gonna earn it. So we're really excited about that.
So it might mean, Amon, that we're dragging you out to come out with me and Mario this year instead of the other way around last year.
Hey, listen, like I said, I was, as equally yoked in terms of, the amount of knowledge that regardless of the win or loss that we were able to share on that night. So
yeah, it was a great night.
It's kind of cool. Like, I know how hard Mario works. So,
sure.
And that's what I tell my coaching staff is like, hey, I know that we got a lot of work to do because this guy is everywhere. Every tournament I'm at, he's there, and I'm seeing him bring these girls along. So it's like, man, he kind of lights a fire, under me to be like, hey, I gotta catch that guy. I gotta catch that guy. We got to keep setting that bar, and it's good for the sport. it'd be different if we were, yelling and screaming and being negative, but we love seeing our girls compete at a high level. And it's equally as exciting whether we win or not. So, I'm there. And then when I'm done with high school, I got to go into the college. So there's always another thing that kind of gets to have some attention to it. So.
Yeah, the respect you guys have for each other is real. It's not just on this podcast. It's not like I had to, say ahead of time. Be nice to each other.
Yeah, you just see that real recognizes real, right? And hard work recognizes effort. And when you're seeing this across the board, there you see the people that are really working towards a collective, right? And hopefully someday these girls are traveling on the world team together, and they're there, and I expect and I won't be surprised when Amon and I have kids competing on this alongside each other at major world events at the senior level, right? I think that the people in Missouri are investing so much into their girls in that state that it's like you're supposed to be here, and they should be very grateful for the coaches and the leadership that they have. So we're there. We're really ready, and I think that there is a mutual respect and appreciation across the board, like you just said, for all of these even these emerging states, right? Maybe they're not there yet with the numbers, but they're there yet. They are there with passion and dedication and commitment to the work ahead. So, I mean, for me, I will be very grateful to experience this tournament, and just be around committed individuals is really going to be what's going to make me happy and grateful to be there.
Well, there's a lot of states that have really good top end talent. Not every state's got the depth that maybe you guys have, but if you just think about Arizona, like a Carly Brooks and Audrey Jimenez, like those, just those you put those two up against anybody in the country, and they're probably going 2-0 in most cases. No disrespect to anybody else. That's just how good they are. So, Mario, I do have to tell you that the night we all went out, it was harder to talk Amon to go out than it was to talk to you go out, and he won. Like, I call him on, I go, "What are you doing?" So I'm in the room. I go, "What are you doing?" I said, "Meet me downstairs in 15 minutes, young man. I'm older than you. Let's go."
Yeah, dude, he had already done. He was relaxing. He was sitting in his room. Like, I'm still fuming. I'm like, I'm still trying to deal with the disappointment and sorrow of loss. And I'm like, get me out of my room. I can't sit here with my voices. And he's just like laying in his sweatpants. He already ate a fat meal. He was like, you two are going to bring me out here. He's like, I already won a national championship. I got nothing to prove.
Prater will tell you it was good he came out. Like I told him, I go, you guys may win 10 of these, but you may not. It's hard.
Yeah.
You got to go.
It's tough.
Well, and Herrick really enjoyed himself. Just, that's a moment. The moment's there, and it's not in the next day or in a new tournament. So it's like, you don't celebrate it then, you don't celebrate it.
Sure.
On the Missouri side, I think, Amon, you and I got to give a shout out to Scotty Cutbirth, who for a long time women's director, and really had a vision when he took that job. I don't know how many years ago it was, but the amount of young ladies participating, and he's not 100% responsible for that. There's a ton of just overall growth of girls wrestling, but Missouri was not very deep or very good when that started. And to go to this, and he's kind of moved on. He's, become kind of a world-class referee on the beach wrestling for sure.
Yeah.
I know he was on the same trip that Eliana was on. I know I'm going to see him at the 2 beach nationals I'm going to in Huntington Beach and Lake of the Ozarks.
Mm-hmm.
But, you want to talk about Cutbirth's contributions for a minute, Amon, and, kind of how he's helped what you're doing now?
I think, again, it's kind of, the evolution of the girls that started the process of wrestling in Missouri. He was able to kind of see that through to as long as he could, because, we are all getting older. So when they start meeting that high school and collegiate age, he's also got other priorities that he had to tend to. So the fact that he was able to stay in it for so long kind of lends itself to the dedication that he kind of had to growing the sport. And, when we're taking those girls on trips and the numbers start to multiply, and then we start seeing the success we're having, and we see other states trying to follow that same model. That was the cool thing, that so many states were able to jump on board and see like the success that other states were having at their high school state tournaments, having, girls wrestling sanctioned in almost all the states. I think we're at 43 now. And I think, like I said, that's the model. And the fact that he stayed dedicated to that, it was a testament to him being committed to anything he does. So, we kind of follow that model as coaches. And like I said, it's the family aspect that we created. Missouri has a great family-based model, and that's, you got to have it. You got to have it, because there are some tough times that we have to be able to get through as well.
Well, to quote Mario, no back seats. The standard is the standard, right? I think what both of you guys have helped, bigger than just your cities or states, because there's a positive ripple effect, is you made wrestling cool for girls. USA Wrestling, it's like, I think it's you call them girls till they get to college, and then it's women. But for young ladies, whatever the right term is, you've made it cool. Like it used to be in the beginning when girls wrestled, it was frowned upon. It was shunned. It was like they were doing something wrong, or they weren't treated the right way. That's probably the most broad way to say it. And now, if you don't treat them like every other wrestler, just treat them as an athlete that is working to be her best. Like I was in a room yesterday with 50 kids. I don't know how many were boys or girls, and it really didn't matter. Like they're trying to get better at wrestling. And I know both you guys really well, and to watch the positive impact you've had on our sport is really cool. And to be able to say you guys are my friends and we've worked together on various things is impactful. And Mario, you're working on something else that's coming up in January, right?
We are finalizing potentially the largest girls high school tournament in the country. If things work out, we're really close to
when things work out, right?
Yeah, literally, we're already there. So
yeah,
essentially, it will be rolled out to the public really soon, and before people start building their competition calendars for their high school women's teams, we're hoping that we can get on the front of that and get on their calendars. I think we already have almost 10 states committed to bringing athletes. So if when this gets rolled out, we're really going to be excited about it. It's an awesome space and an awesome opportunity for girls to, again, come to Michigan, right? You guys don't get to come all the time, but the venue is here, and the people are welcoming, and I think we have some pretty good wrestling. So if let us host you and let us entertain the idea of really potentially bringing an awesome experience to Michigan.
So Amon, he's doing his Lou Holtz now, like some pretty good wrestling. So like, I mean, Mario won't brag, but I'll brag for him. Like the East Coast, a bunch of the people from the East Coast reached out to him and said, "We want you to run a tournament. You're that dude." Mm-hmm. And so, and you know how it is, Amon, like if this person's coming, now this person's going to come.
Yeah.
Like once we got, like for me with Border Brawl, like once Vargas wrestled in it and wrestled Bella, like early on, people were like, "Oh, that's a cool event to wrestle in," right? And they're showcasing the best young ladies, and they didn't just put them at the front and get them out of the way. Like they were the co-main event, that kind of thing. And so this event, I know just based on, I know not only Mario, but the crew he runs with, like they're not going to do it halfway. It's either going to do it or not do it, but they're going to go hard in the paint or not at all. And so, as somebody that has scholarships to offer, you may want to get up there, dog. Probably gonna be some kids worth talking to putting in the blue and white, right?
Say less,
right? Like, let's get there. Yeah. So, I mean, Mario, we'll probably have you come back on and talk about that when you have your who, what, when, where, and why all finalized. So, I look forward to seeing both you guys next week. I like doing this podcast every year with you guys. Like I think we missed it one year, but I think we're all trying to grow the sport in our different lanes, our different avenues. And one of the things as I get older is I appreciate the relationships that have come because of wrestling. Like I would not know either one of you guys if it wasn't for wrestling.
Right.
Period. I mean, because Mario's in Michigan, you're a Georgia guy that came to Mizzou,
Right.
and stuck around. We're happy to have you, by the way. And but we just wouldn't be friends. It's not like we wouldn't like each other. We wouldn't know each other.
Right.
And now I think any of us would do a favor for the other guy if it's at all reasonable, and it's because of this sport that's given all of us so much, and the relationships we have are a great way to give back. So I'm going to predict a Michigan-Missouri final. I'll go out there on the record and say that. I don't know enough to probably know, but so Mario, are you going to pour mouth us and tell us you guys would be lucky to be in the silver pool, or are you going to? I mean, it sounds like you're bringing the whole freaking gang.
I have to, bro. Because these other teams, I'm like, dude, if I don't bring everybody on the table, we're not winning. That's how deep these other teams are. And I'm like, I need to it's not about this, it's about that. And I need kids to score points. It's so competitive at the top right now. So for us, if we didn't bring the whole freaking squad, we didn't have a shot. And that's a testament to competition across the country.
Has Michigan won the team title before?
Second. Let's go.
Okay, so
I'm Mario. I'm a bridesmaid.
A few more you can open. Hey, Amond, if you can keep them there a few more years, you can open a silver shop.
Oh, hey, I'm there either way. I'm there for anything.
Oh my God, that's
He laughed so hard his camera went out.
Oh my God.
I think you guys are the favorites, Mario. It sounds like it. I mean, Amond, they got to be near the top, right?
Absolutely, always. I mean, like I said, just that. I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing behind the scenes. I'm like, nah, he's got some power. He's got some power. So
I don't know if we're the favorite. I think that we're competitive and we're gonna wrestle as hard as we can. So do I expect to win? Absolutely. But I think am I sure we're going to compete? I'm definite, right? Yeah. How things play and whether the girls wrestle is up to their potential is going to be shown on the mat. So we can talk about it all we want, but if show up and blow up or freaking show up and ship out. I mean, if for us, I think this year it's all or nothing, right? For us, really, genuinely, the expectation is to win, and if we don't, we underperformed. So
I love that. Hey, I thought he was going to give me a few more Crash Davis, Bull Durham platitudes, like good Lord willing, it'll all work out.
No, I love you guys. I love Jesus, but I'm trying to win. I need this in my trophy case.
Now Jesus came into it, but Jesus wants people to win.
Jesus wants people to win. I'm like, God, is this your plan?
and again, I'm going to be right there to love you in spite of it.
All right. Well, boys, I'll see you next week. I appreciate you guys coming on. Hugs coming your way. Appreciate everybody watching and listening, and we will speak to you all next week.
Thanks, fellas.
Thanks.